Hedera is the most used, sustainable public distributed ledger in the world, with use cases from preserving testimony to anchoring warning systems, ensuring the safe storage of vaccines, and allowing us to get back to life as we knew it, offsetting our carbon footprint while enjoying the new token economy. These are just a few of the game-changing applications built on Hedera, which is governed by the world's leading organizations and fueled by ℏbar, the world's greenest cryptocurrency. What future will you build?
Welcome, Hedera community, to the 2-year anniversary live stream of Open Access. Hello, future. Here's co-founder and CEO, Mance Harmon.
Hello, everyone. I am delighted to be here with you to sort of memorialize, celebrate the fact that we've launched the network now 2 years ago. Very glad that we have this opportunity to take a look back in time at some of the projects that we've completed along the way, and then also say hello again to the future and talk about what is on the horizon for the project in the coming months and years. So with that, let's dive right in. Next slide, please. Thank you. One more. So as many of you that have been with the project from the beginning understand and know already, there were a number of problems that we wanted to directly address when we began to design the project from the start. Low processing speeds, predictability and cost, security vulnerabilities, transparency, and then of course, we knew then that the proof of work systems and the amount of energy that they were consuming would not be sustainable at scale, that the market would wake up and understand that something had to change. We designed Hedera from the beginning to be very low in terms of energy consumption, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit further. Low processing speeds were a big problem, of course, back in 2017 when we initially kicked off the project. Thinking back to that point in time, Bitcoin and Ethereum, 7 transactions and 15 transactions per second on a global scale, obviously nowhere near what is required to scale enterprise class applications or even applications that we're seeing today that are not enterprise class. We address those directly with the hashgraph algorithm. High, unpredictable processing costs. If a developer is building an application on top of one of these layer 1 platforms, they need the ability to predict accurately what their costs are going to be for the use of the platform. We directly address that in the platform by having USD denominated costs associated with the API calls, and we have ultra low costs associated with those API calls today. Security vulnerabilities. We built Hashgraph, Lehman Baird invented Hashgraph from the beginning, understanding that as the market matured and the value of the applications running on top of the platform continues to go up, that the amount of money that would-be attackers are willing to spend to attack the network or attack a given application will also go up. And therefore, from the beginning, Lehman wanted to create an algorithm that achieved the theoretical limit of what can be achieved in terms of security for a distributed consensus algorithm. Of course, Hashgraph achieves that. So we directly address security vulnerabilities in the consensus algorithm with Hashgraph. And then finally, centralization and transparency concerns. We built a governance model that is by design meant to be the most decentralized governance model of any of the layer 1 platforms, and it's fully transparent. You know who the council members are that are running the nodes, you know where they are running the nodes, you know what decisions they make in regards to the network. So in terms of performance, we achieve 10,000 TPS in a beta version of the product that we're planning to move to V1 in the near future. We'll talk more about that later in the live stream. 10,000 capacity for 10,000 transactions per second today, with finality measured in seconds. For security, as I'd mentioned, Hashgraph checks the box. It's asynchronous, Byzantine fault tolerant. That means it doesn't have a leader. It's not a leader-based algorithm. There is no single point of failure like there necessarily can be if you're not asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerant. And it's a proof of stake system, which means that the consumption, energy consumption, is incredibly low for the platform. In terms of stability, we've made from the beginning a commitment to the market that the network will never fork. We achieve that both through legal and technical controls, and we've created price stability in the API costs by denominating those in USD. For governance, we've created a world-class governing council by design to be the most decentralized in the market. And those members run the initial network nodes. We have a roadmap to adding additional nodes outside of the nodes run by the governing council members. I'll touch on that in a few moments as well. And of course, the governing council manages treasury. Sustainability, we are the greenest of the platforms in the market. And UCL published a paper recently, a report that describes in detail the work that they've done to analyze the different layer ones. And they concluded that Hedera Hashgraph is the greenest. So let's start from the beginning. Back in 2017, Lehman and I decided it was time to take the work that had been accomplished over years in developing the Hashgraph algorithm, the initial code base, and build a public network from that. In the fall of 2017, we hired the initial team members. In March of 2018, we announced to the world Hedera Hashgraph. We then raised a lot of money through the spring and into the summer. We raised $123 million. Those were through SAFT sales. In the fall of 2018, we launched the network. We minted 50 billion tokens. And we then invited a small number of partners to begin using the platform as we continued to harden it to the point where we could open it for general use. In 2019, we announced our first 5 council members in February from Seoul, Korea. 2019 really as a year was marked by our operationalizing or creating the council and making it possible for the council to actually govern in the way that we had envisioned. Through 2019, we added an additional 5 council members. We had open access in the fall of 2019. That's what we're here celebrating today, the 2-year anniversary of open access. And then with open access, at the time of open access, we launched or announced 26 apps that went live with open access. In 2020, we began to observe how the community was using the platform, what things seemed to work, what things weren't quite right, what features needed to be tweaked, or what features needed to be added to the platform in order to give the community the tools that they need to very quickly and efficiently build out the dApps that they cared about. Through that process, we decided to add a couple of new features, a couple of new services. One was the Hedera consensus service, which we added in the late summer of 2019. And then the second one was the Hedera token service, which we added in February of this year. So through 2020, we continued to observe and refine and build to get to the point where it was easy for the community to go to market with the solutions that they cared about. And we continue to add more council members. This year, the world changed, not just for us, but for the crypto industry at large, but certainly for us. the amount of traction and usage of the platform has skyrocketed, which is a great indicator in terms of our understanding of the features that needed to be built back in 2020 and getting those built and deployed. This year, we've seen fantastic growth in TPS on the network, the usage of the network. We've seen fantastic growth in a pipeline of projects that are building for the platform. We have seen the number of accounts explode, and these are accounts that are real accounts based on the need to use dApps on the platform. These are not accounts just for trading crypto, but accounts that are real in that they need the use of the platform for things that are other than for staking rewards or trading crypto. So it's been a fantastic year for us this year. The council today is 23 members. It's grown since February of 2019. It continues to grow. We will continue to add members until we reach 39. The most recent member that we announced just this week was IIT. Very glad to have them. And what we've seen is on average about one new council member per month. Some months we haven't announced a council member, in other months maybe we will announce more than one. But we've seen a steady growth, a steady number of council members being added to the council, and we're right on track in terms of attracting the caliber of council members that we want to provide the governance of the platform that we've built. If we look at actual statistics, use of the network, back about 5 months ago, we crossed 1 billion transactions on the network having been processed. That's a fantastic number. It took about 18 months from the time we opened the network to the point where we had actually processed 1 billion transactions. A few months later today, we've processed another 600 million. So we're more than 1.6 billion transactions having been processed today. I think it's noteworthy to say that that's far more than Ethereum has processed since the beginning of Ethereum back in 2015. The use cases are broad and deep in terms of their coverage and applications, and they are taking advantage of the throughput and the capacity that we have in the network today. User accounts, we're more than 420,000 user accounts. We are aware of more than 100 dApps being built. And I caveat it by saying aware because, like I've said previously, there's no requirement for anyone to talk to us in order to use the network. All that's required is that they have ℏbar and can make an API call. So what we believe is that there are hundreds, more than 400 dApps actually using the network today. It's not directly possible to measure that, but for those that we are aware of, we know that there's more than 100 apps that are using the platform today for their solutions. So let's just take a look at some of the use cases that have been deployed and are being deployed at this stage. And these are primarily focused on enterprise. So Avery Dennison has gone to market with atma.io. It's a platform that unlocks the power of connected products by assigning unique digital identities to every item that flows through a supply chain. This provides unparalleled end-to-end transparency in the supply chain, in the widgets flowing through the supply chain, by tracking them from source to consumer, and then finally beyond to enable circularity in the understanding of the life cycle of those widgets in the supply chain. If we look at Suku, Infinite by Suku, next slide, please. Infinite by Suku provides a platform to manage your digital closet through claiming ownership and instant sales and exchange of each of your products, of course, built on the Hedera Hashgraph platform. ServiceNow, next slide. ServiceNow has implemented trusted service level agreements on Hedera via our consensus service. They have new capabilities that are enabled by distributed ledger technology, our services in particular, that are now converging with core enterprise applications that represent a new wave of service innovation. The Coupon Bureau, it's a data exchange connecting all stakeholders in the US coupon ecosystem. They will record all US coupon lifecycle events through, again, the Hedera consensus service. The world's largest consumer packaged goods manufacturers are registering coupons on the network, and redemptions at US retailers will record the use of those coupons in retailer sites through point of sale systems on the network using the Hedera consensus service. If we look at DLA Piper, DLA Piper's TOCO platform is a digital asset creation engine that couples compliance and the regulatory rigor that one gets with a global law firm with innovative technology that's, again, underpinned by Hedera. TOCO is addressing a serviceable market that is measured in billions and trillions, ultimately trillions of dollars of value. If we look at EDF, the largest utility company in Europe and a council member, is exploring the tokenization of renewable energy credits to be traded on decentralized marketplaces built on top of Hedera. Standard Bank, is providing decentralized identity and verifiable credentials on Hedera. They're expected to bring a new range of services to their customers across the African continent. In addition, Standard Bank is creating a digital bond issuance platform that paves the way for issuances of tokenized financial assets to a larger portfolio of clients than what is possible today without the use of the platform. These are just some representative examples of the types of distributed applications that are being built on Hedera today. I believe Hedera is the market leader, hands down, for enterprise applications in the DLT space. Let's take a look now briefly at sustainability. Of course, today there is a lot of attention and focus on the environmental impact of the distributed ledger technology in our industry, and rightly so. We're happy to note that the Centre for Blockchain Technologies at the University College of London published a sustainability impact report in which they examined the energy consumption of proof of stake DLT platforms. What you see here is a URL for that report. You certainly are welcome to go and download it and read it for yourself. The research paper found that Hedera Network had the lowest overall energy consumption of the systems studied. These included Algorand, Cardano, Ethereum 2.0, Polkadot, and Tezos. To give you a sense of scale, just look at this chart from the UCL report. It clearly shows that Hedera uses orders of magnitude less energy than the other platforms that were analyzed. And to discuss this further, let's hear directly from Juan Ignacio from the Center for Blockchain Technologies at UCL.
I'm here today with Juan Ignacio, who is one of the researchers who recently published the newest study from UCL in terms of sustainability and energy consumption of various proof of stake networks. Hello, Juan Ignacio, how are you?
Hi, Zenobia, good to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Good. This is a really interesting piece of research. Can you summarize for us the purpose of the study and, why you looked at sustainability of proof of stake networks?
Sure. Well, I think so. It was all triggered by the will to investigate the environmental impact of distributed ledger technology and the carbon footprint in particular, which takes us to the energy consumption. But then when you start looking at the energy consumption, we all know that Bitcoin consumes a lot of energy. We know that proof of work more generally consumes a lot of energy. And we know more or less that networks consume much, much less. But broadly speaking, I'm exaggerating here, but this is as much as we know. So we wanted to know a bit more. How was? Are different proof of stake networks different? Do they consume more or less all of the same energy, or are there significant differences between one another? And as it turned out, this information wasn't readily available out there. So we decided, why not research? Why not do this investigation ourselves? At least kickstart the discussion, because it's an expensive topic.
Great. And how did you go about your criteria for selecting which networks you evaluated?
We tried to take networks with a high marketization. We tried to take, I don't think we'd say this explicitly, but we tried to take what we thought could be interesting and what under a working hypothesis of ours would provide different results and therefore something interesting to find. So we looked at networks that have some slight architectural differences with each other, because we thought maybe this is going to play a role at the end when we get the energy consumption figures. So we chose Ethereum 2.0, Algorand, Cardano, Polkadot, Tesos, and Hedera.
Right. So now you've selected your set of networks. Can you walk us through the methodology for how you performed the research?
The energy consumption of distributed ledger is the energy consumption on average of each one of its of the average node times the number of nodes. So we all need to know is how many nodes there are and how much each node consumes. But it's not so simple, because some networks they process a lot of transactions and some not so many. So it's meaningless to say that one network consumes more than another if the transactions are different. So we need to control by the number of transactions. But transactions like in what period of time? Ever since the network was created? No, we need like a fixed, consistent period of time, transactions per second. This is what we call throughput. So we now want to know the energy consumption per node and the number of nodes and the throughput. And this is information that we can get. Now, as it turns out, the number of nodes and the throughput, they are interrelated. So we need to model this relationship to try to understand which energy consumption corresponds with which number of nodes, with which level of throughput. So we create a function. It's a simple function describing the relationship between throughput and the number of nodes. Well, all that we need to do is feed in data into the function. And for that, we can get publicly available information, such as the number of nodes and the throughput now and in the past. By doing that, we have our function, we have the number of nodes, and by looking at hardware energy consumption figures, we use our model to get our results.
And what were those results? For those who haven't read the paper, in detail, can you just summarize the results for us?
Basically, what we get is that at present, Hedera is the network with the lowest energy consumption. We get that all the networks have, in absolute terms, low energy consumption compared to what we are used to, but Hedera then is the lowest of them all. Now, of course, as I just said, this is not super interesting if we cannot control by if all the networks, they do not have the same throughput at the same time. So our model shows what networks would perform better or worse if they had the same level of throughput. So this is also something we look at, and we also find that Hedera is pretty much the best for most possible ranges of future throughput. And we have a number of assumptions that could be challenged, but this is precisely what the paper is for, like to construe a starting point, and then we can play with the assumptions, change the model, feed in new data, make it more complex. So honestly, the model itself and the learning process of how to build it and its limitations are also a takeaway that we get from this, because now we can continue doing this research.
Great. Well, Juan Ignacio, thank you so much. We look forward to additional research coming out of UCL and the incredible blockchain center that you have there. And thank you for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Okay, great. Next, I'd like to delve into a topic that we think a lot about in the Governing Council, and that is decentralization. Our governance model is the most decentralized in the industry by design, with council members in every continent except Antarctica. And the members span a broad range of different industry sectors. Also, Hedera is the most transparent. You know who the council members are, where they are, and the decisions that they make for the network. Our nodes are also decentralized, with nearly all nodes running in different infrastructure. And as we continue to add council members, we also add additional validator nodes. We have a well-articulated path to full decentralization of the nodes, starting with council members running the initial set of nodes, followed by permissioned community nodes, which is on the roadmap, as you will see in a few minutes, and then finally to allow permissionless nodes to participate in the network. This is a well-considered path that sets Hedera apart from every other ledger in the market. That leaves decentralization of our ℏbar, ensuring that they get into the hands of the people that will drive the network in its adoption forward. This is a topic that the council has been discussing and working on for a long time. We created a task force. Earlier this year, we convened a special task force of council members, Hedera staff, and industry experts to discuss how to further create independence in decision-making and to develop the ecosystem. As I showed in the use cases earlier, Hedera is the clear leader in the enterprise DLT market. And the task force acknowledged this as an important market for us to accelerate the growth of. But we were also focused on how to win the entire DLT market, not just enterprise. That required a bold decision to allocate 10.7 billion ℏbar, as of this moment, worth approximately $500 billion as of the current token price. That's roughly 20% of the total supply to be devoted to accelerating ecosystem development initiatives for many years to come. Of course, the task force cared deeply about the qualifications of the foundation management team and their ability to execute this mission over the coming decade. Today, it is my pleasure to announce the new independent ℏbar Foundation. And to talk about this new initiative, its mission, its goals, I'd like to welcome the CEO of the ℏbar Foundation, Shane Higdon, excuse me. Welcome, Shane.
Mance, thanks so much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you listening from around the globe. As you know, cryptocurrency and DLT are transformative technologies because they enable people to form digitally native communities, controlling their own assets, identities, data, marketplaces, economies, and more. Anyone these days can create economies that they choose with their members in control. And these economies have to be fair to use and open to access. And we've seen this begin to form in gaming, sustainability, payments, DeFi, just to name a few. Hedera has proven that networks which are scalable and secure from the ground up can drive unstoppable levels of innovation to the masses. And more importantly, we see that Hedera has the opportunity to build an unparalleled network effect by bringing others together, individuals and businesses from around the world, to form these economies with user control and decentralization at the core. So today I'm excited to share that we've created the foundation, as Mance said, an entity created with the sole purpose of making the vision a reality through the growth of the Hedera ecosystem. We are here to empower you, the builders, the creators, innovators, and individuals to solve global issues, create a fair and open economy enabled by tokenized assets, and to drive the distributed workloads of the future with Hashgraph technology. Whether you're a developer, an investor, a company entering space, our mission is to provide you with the resources to start building now. Next slide. So who is the ℏbar Foundation? We're a group of tech executives experienced at scaling businesses, creating and supporting new ventures in both public and private companies. Most importantly, we're intellectually curious in all things and with a thirst for entrepreneurship and innovation. Not to mention, we've got an extensive crypto and DLT experience. We understand specifically, though, the unique value and superiority of the Hashgraph technology. And I guess as importantly, this is for us at least a 10-year endeavor, and we will thoughtfully deploy our treasury with the utmost rigor and prudence. I'm also pumped today to announce that we've created the first tokenization and DeFi fund, which will be allocated over the next 6 months. This fund's going to provide support for projects that may be issuing tokens, building new businesses, bridging to other networks, and so much more. So please visit our website, hbarfoundation.org/apply to apply for funding today. And one last comment. You may not have known who I am or seen or paid attention to the names in Discord, Telegram, or Twitter, but let me tell you, we've been watching. I've personally been researching and investing in projects like Hedera for a while now. And there is nothing like this project. And more importantly, there's nothing like this community of ℏbarbarians. So I'd like to thank the likes of Jesse and Brandon at the Hedera Forum, King Solomon, ℏbar to the moon, Credible Crypto, who's live tweeting right now, Nick the Crypto Crusader, and so many others, too many to name. They have created unique and engaging content, incredible insights, and fueled the growth of this community and ecosystem. We have a lot of work to be done, and we at the ℏbar Foundation are excited to join you in that revolution. It's great to be a part. Lehman, over to you.
All right, well, thank you very much. If we can go to the next slide. We have done a lot. We have seen a lot and have accomplished a lot with you, the community, over the last 2 years. So we started with an extremely fast system, a great council. We had the highest level of security, ABFT. So there's no leader. You can't shut down the leader and shut down the whole network, or play follow the leader and shut down the whole network, because there is no leader. We had the highest level ABFT of security with incredible speed. And then over the last 2 years, we've continued to add things. And so if you look at what we have done, in addition, after OA, in the next 2 years, if you go to the next slide, you'll see that we did the Hedera consensus service. This was something we did early on that allows you to, at the native layer, write your code in any language you want as a separate network, like a private network, like Hyperledger, EA, or Corda, any of those three. You have a plugin at the bottom, and then Hedera is putting your transactions in order and giving them timestamps. And you have the full trust of the Hedera network. And so it enables you to do any logic you want in any language you want with what would be a private network, using existing tools for private networks, but with the trust of Hedera. You can even encrypt everything. So it really is a private network. Hedera is just putting encrypted transactions in order, and it can't even tell what they are. So this is what we did with the consensus service. And what it does is it gives you the speed and flexibility of a private network, but it also gives you the trust of Hedera at the same time. But then we went beyond that. And if you go to the next slide, we went to the token service. Early this year, we rolled out the Hedera token service. And this allows you to create tokens. You can create fungible tokens on Hedera. You can create non-fungible tokens on Hedera, NFTs. And anyone can create them. And then you have the incredible speed of a native layer token, which means you're doing 10,000 transactions a second of token transfers. And not only that, at native layer, these tokens are able to do things like enable built-in governance. We have KYC systems if you want to use it. We have the ability for administrators to mint and burn or not. You have the choice of whether you want to build that in. We have the ability for you to set up complex administration organizations. Like you could say, well, there's 3 organizations, any 2 of them have to approve a mint or burn. And within an organization, there's a bunch of these people and a majority of them have to vote for it. You can set up all of that at the native layer. You can, of course, do things like that at smart contracts at a higher layer, but this gives you the native layer speeds. And then most recently, what we've added to our NFTs and our token service is custom fees. If you want to, you can actually create a token, an NFT or a new fungible token type if you want, and you can define fees that you will receive every time it is transferred between 2 people. Or you can set it up without that and guarantee to people, I'll never charge fees. But if you want to, you can create tokens and they'll be moving around with fees. And with all of this running at the native layer speeds without having to use a smart contract, just at native layer speeds, it is incredibly cheap. So 1/10 of a cent to transfer a token. And even for the token that has all of this built-in governance and a token that has these custom fees, still just 1/10 of a cent for every transfer of a token. All of that is built in. That's what you get with tokens at the native layer, with all of these features also at the native layer without needing smart contracts. But if you do need smart contracts, we also have smart contracts. So we've had smart contract service from the beginning, and this allows you to do arbitrary logic. It's solidity. You can take smart contracts from Ethereum and run them on Hedera without changes. So you can do that. So you can do ERC20s and so on that have incredible flexibility. It's a Turing complete language. You can do anything. But we are now adding smart contract service 2.0. This is going to be speeding up smart contracts immensely, hundreds of calls per second. It's going to be adding hooks where the smart contract service can access these native tokens that people can create. And so not only can the smart contract be an ERC20 that manages its own token and every transfer happens inside the smart contract, it could also manage a token you build at the native layer on Hedera, where you don't have to call the smart contract for most operations on the token, and you just use it for those things that you need it. So you use the infinite flexibility of a Turing complete language when you need that power, and you use the infinite speed, the extreme speed of the native tokens when you need that speed. And so that is what we are bringing. We are switching EVMs to the Bezu EVM, which is better. It was created as part of Hyperledger. We have created a new kind of database. It's actually basically a NoSQL database that we've written from scratch, designed specifically for the exact Merkle tree situation that we are dealing with. And of course, it's open source. You'll all be able to use it. And this will be coming soon to give you fast programmability, fast smart contracts. This is just the tip of the iceberg of things that are coming soon. These things are being built by our engineering team, and we have a world-class engineering team. These people are creating, like I told you, this new kind of NoSQL database just for being able to do these things, smart contracts fast, and we'll apply them to other things as well. That's being released open source. They've been doing these amazing other things. All these features you've been seeing that you've been hearing about, they're doing that. And the engineering team is going to tell you about even more features that are coming in the near future. And we'll tell you about that. I am very impressed with this engineering team. I should point out that what did they build? They build the things approved by the council. Well, how does the council get these ideas? From the community. With the Hedera improvement process, the HIP process, the community has been giving us the features to build. And the council approves them. And this engineering team is building them. I love the way that we're working with the community. So to tell you more about it, let me turn it over to our VP of Engineering. Richard, could you go ahead and if we can go to the next slide, let's have Richard.
Awesome. Thanks, Lehman. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about our roadmap. So my responsibility here today is to talk about the roadmap and some of the things that we are working on in a little bit more detail in that section that that Lehman was talking about. So we've taken our roadmap and we've broken it down into 5 basic categories. And the first one of those categories that we are going to talk about is community. So as Lehman was saying about HIPs, here at Hedera, one of the things that I love about Hedera, one of the reasons that I was so interested in coming and working at Hedera was because we do love open source and we embrace the open development model. It's a very exciting thing for an engineer to be able to work in that type of an environment. And, our open development philosophy goes all the way back to the very beginning when we define what sort of features and functionality we're going to be building on the system. And so the HIP process, the Hedera improvement process that Lehman talked about is an essential part of that. And anyone can submit a new HIP and we will analyze it, look at it, figure out what it is that, how we can integrate that into the platform, and all those HIPs become available then for inclusion in the system. So a really good example of this is that HIP 18 that was talked about a little bit earlier, the custom fees HIP. That was actually, it didn't come from us. That one was defined by our customers at Galaxy. And there was a robust discussion in the GitHub repos conversations area for communication between all the different people. And we had a lot of different people in the community who were really interested in that HIP. And so we actually did take some things that were on our schedule and shifted that out and made room for that so that we could be very responsive in taking the ideas that are coming from you guys, from our community, from our customers, and implement that on our network. So the custom fees HIP was a good example of that. Another example is auto associate that you can see here, flexible association for tokens. So each account in our system can have 1,000 different tokens, and some percentage of those tokens with this new HIP, you can set aside for auto association so that anybody could automatically give you tokens, and you don't have to go through a longer process to accept them. So we're adding that feature, and another one that was coming directly from the community. There's also another HIP that we're working on that is about being able to pause an account. So there's a lot of these HIPs are actually coming from the community. We have some that we contribute in as well that we'll be talking about in the next couple points. But these HIPs, they come from everybody, and it's a wonderful system. It helps us know what we should build and make sure that we're building exactly what's interesting to you. And it's all open source. You can go to our GitHub repo for the Hedera improvement proposals, and you can scan and see what HIPs are there. You can look at the ones that have been forked, and which is where people are submitting new ones. You can go and see what they're about to submit and participate in that whole process. Everything that we do on the network that's going to change the API, change the way that the system works, is going to be part of a HIP. So that working as part of the community is really important to us. Now, the other thing that I'm really excited to talk about this morning that Lehman led into is the smart contract work that we're doing. So we are enhancing our smart contract service to this 2.0 version to be able to support the Hedera token service and the Hedera consensus service with native integrations. I mean, just like Lehman was saying, right? We've heard from you, from our community and our customers, that you want a fast, fair, and secure EVM. And we are providing that for you. You have all the wonderful native on-chain functionality like HTS and HCS that gives you the best speed and value. But sometimes you just need programmability. You need to be able to extend the behavior of the system. You need to be able to provide some additional functionality. And so that's what we're trying to solve. And as Lehman had mentioned, we looked around at a bunch of different solutions, a bunch of different possible directions that we could go with this. And we settled on Hyperledger Besu. Besu has an EVM implementation, and we are actually contributing back to Hyperledger Besu. There's a couple contributions that we are making. One is to help modularize their EVM better, to make it easier for us to collaborate with the Hyperledger Besu community. And the second thing that we've been working on with them are performance fixes. We've been doing a lot of performance profiling, performance work on the Besu EVM, and we're contributing all those performance tests and performance work back into the community. As I mentioned previously, right, to us, open source is not just lip service. It's really the way that we like to live. It's what we want to do. And we are making those contributions back. So ultimately what this means is that we're adding in some precompiled contract support into our contracts as well that is going to allow you to make calls into, for example, HTS to mint, burn, or transfer. So it gives you the best of both worlds. You get all the speed and security of our native tokenization, but you also get programmability. The next thing that's kind of near and dear to my heart, I mean, okay, look, when I drive down the freeway or whatever, I'm really a good driver, all right? But when it comes to code, I'm a speed freak. I just love performance and scalability. It's one of those things that I've always enjoyed in programming and software engineering. And I just love that here at Hedera, we take our performance and scalability extremely seriously. We are always looking for ways that we can level up, that we can take it to the next level. We're always looking at how we can increase the number of entities that we support in our system, from NFTs or accounts to smart contract data. And to be honest with you, that was one of the things that we've been working really hard on with that custom database that Lehman was talking about. We've got to stay ahead of the demand curve. And we know that as we bring these smart contract capabilities to market, there's a lot of demand to build things on that. And we know what that scale is going to look like. And so it was really important that we were able to design a system that would allow us to take all that storage that these smart contracts need and store them in an on-disk Merkle format. And we looked at all kinds of different possible solutions for this. We looked at a bunch of stuff off the shelf. We looked to see what our competitors were doing. We looked to see what everybody was doing. And we decided that we really needed something very specialized here that would give us the ultimate performance and the ultimate scale. So there's some really cool stuff that we're working on there. And I should mention that the work that we've been doing with Besu to integrate that into our platform, and also this work on our database, these are all HIPs that are being written and posted on our website. If they're not there yet, they'll be there in a couple hours. So, please go and contribute to those. Look at what we're doing and give us your feedback. We're also working on the performance side, a bunch of things on the mirror node. So we have a mirror node. It has tons of transaction history. And as the usage on the 1.6 billion transactions, as that goes to 10 and 20 and 50 billion transactions, we have to make sure that the mirror node is ready. And so we're working on that to make sure that it can deal with the scale, the number of read requests that are going to come, and just the amount of data that we're going to need to support. So all that stuff kind of goes into our performance and scale. The fourth section is decentralization. And as Mance mentioned, this is really important to us. And we've been on that path to decentralization. And along that path, one of the key things that we've had to do is to work on automation. We got to make it so that running nodes is completely effortless, that you're able to just run the node and it does everything as automatically as possible. So part of this is that we've been adding support to self-diagnose and self-heal in the case of various failures. So for example, if we lose a network connection, or if somebody strips over a power cord, or your hard drive fails and you have to swap it out, whatever your situation might be, as soon as you repair that and bring the node back online, it automatically talks to all of its peers, figures out where it's at in history, synchronizes up to the latest state, and then it's able to just pick right back up where it was at before without intervention. So we're working on that capability. And that leads us to the ability to have these permissioned community nodes to extend our decentralization story. And as we do that, you'll be able to run those permission nodes by keeping your costs down, basically just running the hardware, and the thing's going to run an autopilot. So that's really where we're going with our decentralization story. And the last category is developer ecosystem. We have a number of different SDKs today. We have Java, JavaScript, Go. We're adding React and Swift and some other SDKs, so that if you're doing mobile development or you're doing cross-platform development, you'll have an SDK at your disposal as well for delivering those types of applications. We're working on our dev portal. We're going to be making it more interactive. We're going to be adding more demos. The goal there is to just make this the easiest platform for developers to get up and running with, to learn and to understand. We're putting effort into our API design and making sure that things are backwards compatible. And finally, I just wanted to say that we understand that success for our customers isn't just what we do here at Hedera. Success for our customers is an ecosystem play. It depends on a whole variety of different pieces of the market working together, from wallets, exchanges, custody providers, oracles, and more. There's a lot of different pieces that fit in here. And so we have this big long bar at the bottom there is sort of a continuous operation. We're continually adding new integrations and working to enhance the integrations we have to make this a truly wonderful platform for people to be able to develop on and deploy their applications to and solve real business needs. And I think that's the other thing I love about Hedera. We are about solving real business needs. So that's kind of just a whirlwind tour going through the things that are on our roadmap. Hope to see you on our open source projects and to hear from you, contributions. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Lehman.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. This is exciting. You guys are doing an amazing job here. So in the last 2 years at OA, we had an amazing system. And in the last 2 years, a lot has been added to it. When we started at OA, we called it beta. And now, after all these things that we are adding, that we have added, we are, if you will click to the next thing, we are going to announce it as version 1. So we have added enough to this, so we are just calling this version 1. This will be something to come in the near future. We will no longer call it beta, we will call it version 1. Of course, the source code is already released. You can see that, you can watch it upgrading, and you can get involved in the HIP process and just see what's going on. So this is a great milestone. In addition to all of this, we are celebrating our anniversary by doing an auction. So we're going to donate to charity. We have donated some things. I actually have some coins that I minted way back in 2018, right before OA, a few months before OA. And you can see that it's a metal coin with holes in it. So I've donated them. Only created 2 of them. I stamped in serial numbers by hand with a hammer, and I've donated them to Hedera to auction, with all proceeds going to charity. There is a charity in Dallas for homeless mothers. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be homeless, much less being a mother with children while being homeless. Anyway, it's going to be donated to those. And so we're going to auction off these coins. Mance is going to auction off a book that inspired the organization of Hedera. We have a community member that's going to auction some jewelry. All of these will go to charity. And how are we doing an auction? We are writing software, we've written software that allows you to auction with multiple nodes involved, and then using Hedera, and it's going to happen on the 21st, September 21st, this month, not very far away, and it will last for 48 hours. It'll start at noon Pacific time on the 21st and go for 48 hours, and anyone can come in and do bids on it, and it's using the whole system. So it's using new software we wrote just for auctions, but it's also using Hedera. It's also using HCS. It's also using scheduled transactions, which is another feature that we've done in the last 2 years or this year even, that we haven't even mentioned on this video. Lots of features we've added that aren't mentioned, but it uses all of them and it brings them all together. The source code will be released open source. Everybody can use it, and we will be demonstrating an auction, and I hope you'll enjoy it. It sounds like it'll be fun. So that is the auction that we'll be having very soon. So that is it. Over the last 2 years, what have we done? What have you done with us as a community? You've given us inputs and we've implemented your inputs. You've helped us build all these applications on top of us. Well, you've built all the applications on top of us. We've helped you to build all those. We have built a council that is just amazing. Our latest member is the #1 ranked IIT in India by some lists. I'm just so happy to have the council members that we have. We have now established this ecosystem fund of $5 billion worth of HBARs. So $5 billion. And we've established the HBAR Foundation will be part of what gets that, and others will as well. Other people will also be getting these grants. A lot has been happening over the last 2 years as we celebrate this anniversary, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Hello, future. There is a lot to come. Thank you.